And hello, everybody, and welcome to Lightshare. Today I'm here with Dom, just the two of us, and Don will be sharing some of his painting skills while we discuss some creativity and that sort of thing. And yeah, how are you, Dom?
Pretty good, man. Just trying to take a lot of breaks this year, rest my mind. It's a lot of noise out there on the internet nowadays, and I'm just trying to keep my mind clear from that stuff. I've just been posting my artwork, working a lot, keeping my head down, and I'm hoping the same for other people out there. Like it's kind of like one of the topics we'd like to discuss in this episode too is training your mind to keep away from the negativity that you see out there and how to focus and cultivate your work better. But yeah, how about you? How are things?
Yeah, I think a bunch of us are pretty much on the same boat. There's a lot of negative stuff that you could be looking at, but I think in moments like this is where you kind of have to find reasons to kind of keep going. And I think we always say that, but like social media, it's pretty detrimental to your mental health and to that will to live. I'll say like that idea that the reasons why you're doing what you're doing, and maybe
Yeah,
yeah, I think like this year was pretty challenging for me due to like some personal reasons, and I feel like because of that, because like real life was already kind of like a struggle, it was easier to ignore the noise of social media. So I wasn't paying a lot of attention to that stuff. I was just keeping like my head down and working quite a bit and
it's
trying
good.
to tackle like some like taking that time to tackle the issues that I know I have in my artwork. So tackling weak points, exploring like branching out stuff a lot more. People who follow me on Instagram, like I've been posting a lot more environmental stuff, some character stuff, like just going back to the roots of like when we started doing art, like trying to have a lot more fun
Yeah,
and fall in love again with the process. And to be honest, in that sense, like of falling in love again with like doing artwork, I feel like I've been like decently successful this year. I feel like I
nice.
regained, although I know like again, there's a lot of negativity out there. I feel like I gained the that childhood like approach to art, and it's weird to feel that way again, because like we are not teenagers anymore. We can't be like delusional
Yeah,
about everything and life will be awesome and everything is great and so on. It's just that you have to find that within yourself. And look, from experience, it's like pretty damn good to find that again, man.
yeah. I honestly feel the same. Like I don't know. I think when we take our art too seriously, it can kind of seep through our art rather than like what you said, the childlike exploration. It's I don't know, like I think it could be kind of lost nowadays because, there's so many tools and different programs that we can use to like amp up our workflow. But I think just going back to the roots, like drawing and painting and stuff, like it allows you to sort of loosen up and just express your thoughts intentionally, Um, and yeah, it's good to hear that you're coming back to that. And yeah, for me especially, like since last year, I took that long hiatus for like 5 months. I didn't paint anything for those for that time because I was going through some like rocky emotion, like life stuff, just with my health and everything going crazy. But it just made me kind of wake up to the fact that like you have to train yourself to like not look at the doom and gloom online because it's not always representative of real life, And if you go outside more, you can see how normal everyday things are rather than, just being stuck on the internet. And yeah, I mean, I feel like life is not as bad as it seems when I go out my front door. But if I'm just like on the news all day, then I'll just see bad stuff all the time. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know about you, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to like one advice that we gave a lot, which is like s- be mindful of who you follow, like what they're posting and everything, because that seeps through. So
Yeah.
I pretty much give my Instagram a cleanup. Like, okay, anything that it's not anything that like makes me feel bad, because then that's a bit like too you're trying to escape too much, you know. So like, there's a lot of
Mm.
content there that people who I disagree with or people that have different ideas from what I have that I still follow and it's fine and like doesn't bother me at all. It's just that like when you're only looking at negative news, when you're only looking at like the bad stuff that's happening or people that are just complaining about everything, um, I understand that life's hard for some people and it's pretty much hard everywhere. And we just mentioned that like we had hard patches of our own lives. It's just how you portray that to yourself and to the public, I think makes a huge difference because it's kind of I have a firm belief that what you say kind of like becomes true in your own mind. So if I'm looking at a
Yeah.
situation that is bad and complaining about it and making it worse on my own head, it kind of like makes everything a lot harder. And if I try to take it a
Yeah.
little bit lighter, if I try to find the light on those hard moments, I think that's when it makes the load easier to carry. Or let's say that one particular area of your life is being like negatively affected right now, and you kind of have to find excuses for the other areas to be like doing better then. So like to compensate for that. So if your let's say your physical health's not doing that well, maybe like your mental health is doing a lot better. If you are like going through like financial struggles, maybe that's when you surround yourself with friends that can help like the morale boost, that can support you, not necessarily financially, but like to give you that morale lift to strengthen you to pursue getting out of that situation. And like for a lot of people, the idea of like finding a temporary job to like stand on their legs while they continue to pursue this art dream, they feel like that's a failure. But I don't think that's the
Yeah.
way
I don't know
to
why.
look at it. Yeah,
Yeah.
look, it's just you paying the bills while you're pursuing your art dream. You know,
Yeah.
if it was any other person, like having we tend to glorify people that have um kind of like side projects or side hustles. Like, okay, this guy is building his business while he's working. So, like, every night he works on it a little bit, and weekends he works on it a little bit. And after a while, he grows like a successful business. But in the beginning, it was very hard. But I think the way that we should look at artists that are not quite there yet should be like in a very similar way, where we're working on your off hours, on weekends, and like you're building your portfolio and stuff. Like that is as difficult and as worth it as the guy who's building a business. You know, it's just like
Yep.
the way that you look at it should be determining how well you feel about it as well, because you will not go to the like entrepreneur after he's successful and tell him that, oh, while you were like side hustling you were a failure, right? You'll never do that because that's not true.
Mm.
So I don't think that we as artists should look at it in the same way as well. And yeah, just like try to find the silver linings, you know, like the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, what is your pathway to get there? Instead of, oh, everything is hard right now, there's nothing that I can do. It's like, what can I do while on this
Yeah.
hard path to get there?
Yeah. Like that's kind of what happened in my situation. Like I was not working for like a year and a half after my main job, and one of my first instincts was, oh, you know, I should complain like everyone else on the internet because, world's on fire, industry's burning. But if you do that, I think it can also lessen your chances of finding work. If you're actively looking for work out there or something, I think like learning to stay calm under pressure when things like this happen, um, it, it displays to the public and possibly some recruiters who are looking at your profile that like this guy's not like lashing out or something, and he's probably our best bet for our next hire because he can keep our company secrets maintained, instead of like, yeah,
Yeah.
throwing a tantrum or something.
Also, like if
So
he's calm and composed while like going through a tough period, if we face issues here on the studio, let's say that like I'm hiring someone, and we all know that the art process they're not like linear and super smooth and everything. Like there's a lot of changes, there's a lot of direction changes, there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of feedback. There's you need to have someone who has the profile of being okay with adversity, because
yeah,
you guys will face challenges together, right? And you want by your side someone who's like who you can trust on those moments.
definitely. Yeah, it's how you kind of carry yourself professionally because you never know who's watching, even if you're like a small account, People think, oh, I can just hide because, I'm not a big following. But if you're in the art world, you're in the art world, and if you market yourself like you're gonna be a professional one day or something, then it all matters, I think. And yeah, you just gotta carry yourself with grace and like just try to keep producing work because you never know when that piece is going to land in the eyes of someone who's going to hire you one day. And yeah, your next piece could be your biggest breakthrough, landing a job or something. So you never know. Like it happens like more often than people think. So
Yeah, and also like that kind of like I think you have to have a more pragmatic view of what every relationship that you have is there for. Because like if you want to
yeah,
vent out and like be frustrated and just uh, tell everything that you're feeling, like have one of those moments, maybe that's the moment for you to have a more like personal conversation with your partner or your friends or whoever is there to support you emotionally. I feel like that's what those relationships are for.
Mhm.
Because they are the ones that can actually help you through that. They are the ones that can actually be there for you and will make a difference in those cases. And people on the internet, like, yeah, I know there's a lot of people that can understand your current situation, whatever that is, but they have a limited amount of support that they can give you. Like their actions are very limited, and I wouldn't trust in that um to kind of like help you to actually get out of the situation. I feel like what internet does very well is people telling you that, oh yeah, you're right, everything sucks, and like they are giving you that positive feedback loop.
That
Like yeah,
confirmation, yeah.
your feelings are valid, which they are, but like
Yeah.
yeah, outside of that, how are they making you get out of that situation? How are making you actually feel better? How are they actually helping you with steps to prevent you from falling like deeper into the hole? And I don't know like if that ever happened to you, but like to me, whenever I was
Mhm.
in those situations, the internet was really not that useful in terms of getting out of the situation. So it was much more like, oh, I want to feel understood, so that's what I'll go to the internet for, instead of, okay, I know that my feelings are valid, let me get out of this. How do I do that, right? That's way harder to find
Mhm.
because that's practical advice. That's like people need to check in on you. So having someone who's there like on a daily basis who you can actually trust, and who can understand, like, okay, you have up days and down days, like have days that are good, days that are bad. And yeah, it's just a different kind of relationship, you know. I want the people on the internet to understand that I'm human. So like maybe sometimes you can share that, oh, this moment in my life was like a little darker. But I don't think that's the like its main strength, you know. Like the main strength is
Yeah.
to kind of like be positive, and you can be human on the internet. You just can expect them to change your life for you, and expecting
Yeah.
that it's a like a road that will lead you to frustration, and to just feel like the world is even worse, you know. Which is like that whole adding thing of, oh, everything that I see is negative, so I see more negative stuff, and because of that, the
Mm.
algorithm is seeing me like react to the negative content, so it will show even more of that stuff for me. So it's a spiral,
Dude,
like a
yeah.
downward spiral that doesn't lead
So
to anything
dangerous.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing that a lot of that online, or used to nowadays, because but I think a lot of people are just lonely on the internet, and you know, that's why you just gotta touch grass, man. I don't know what else to say. Like if you turn off the internet for like 2 weeks, it could change your mind so much. Like I've taken a hiatus, just logged off Instagram, deleted the app for a few weeks, and like I was more positive, I was more happier, less stressed out. I was connecting more with my family. I was less angry. You know, I was more productive. And people think it's so cliche, but you know, it's so true that if you take time off the digital apps and stuff, like you just think so much more clearly, and you're not like a zombie
Yeah.
walking around all the time, just your head in your phone, you know,
Yeah, and you realize how
like,
much of a niche everything that we do here is, you know. Like
yeah,
in the great scheme of things, the amount of people that are doing what we are doing, like, is a very small amount of people. And then you have real conversations with real human beings, like outside of the industry, and you realize that um, life, it seems like it goes at a slower pace than we feel like, because everything on the internet, everything on the industry, everything is like, okay, I need to be productive. What is the next technique? What is the next like workflow? If this painting doesn't land me a job, then it's a failure. Like that's not really real in a sense. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, okay, we love practical advice. We love the idea of pursuing your dreams and like trying to find a job and everything. That's cool, having goals and objectives and so on. But I think it's only as useful as you are not like just destroying your mental health if you're pursuing that way. Um,
yeah,
if it gives you a boost, you know, like you feel more motivated, you feel energized, you feel like you'll get out of bed wanting to do stuff, you know, like that's when it's actually useful. And if it goes out of that realm, it starts to become extra negative. I feel like that's when you should take a step back and look and see how useful things are for your life, and maybe do exactly what you did, you know, like take a break from social media and see if that helps.
yeah. Maybe some people don't have an escape, I guess, but it's just all comes down to forming habits again. You know, like just start by going for a walk. You know, take some time to take a walk around your neighborhood, or go talk to your neighbor. You know, see how they're doing, check in on them. It's like just little acts of kindness, I think, can kind of put you in the right direction. Um, but yeah, you can't make a difference in the world if like you're not actively trying to do those things. You know, just helping the community around you, I feel, is more important. You know, even if you see negative stuff out there in the world, like, are you adding more to the negativity, or are you actively trying to, you know, put more positivity? Because more positivity can combat negativity too. Like you just have to balance it out. Um, so yeah, just like spread goodness. You know, it's pretty simple. I feel, but
Yeah, it
I
sounds
don't know.
cliche, right? But that's because it's actually useful. Like
Yeah,
you can make a lot of positive change in the lives of people around you if you really try. Um, if you are really like everywhere that you go, you try to be a positive force and really like be that incentive to your friends and to your community around you, incentive for people to like strive to do better and to pursue their dreams and so on, and like be the kind of guy that someone wants to tell you the good things that are happening in their lives because they know like you'll actually be happy for them. You'll be like you don't want to be there's a American expression that I like, which is a negative Nancy. You know, like you don't want to be that. You know, because I
yeah,
like the that expression quite a bit because we don't have one of those here, or at least I don't recall having one. And like that to me is a perfect example of someone like you don't want to be like, which is everything
yeah,
that someone brings to you and talks to you about. You find the negative spin on it. You want to be the polar opposite of that. You know, everything that someone brings to you, you want to be the positive spin on that situation. Oh, so something bad happened. You find the light there for, and you show that to the person. You know, you're like, okay, so this bad happened, but like at least it's not something worse, or at least like you still have this thing going for you that is nice. Or look, there's like maybe you had a bad day at work, but you are here at the gym and like you're doing well here, so like let's use that energy and like make it count even more here today. So you well, you know, like the struggles that I had in the beginning of the year, right? Those are
mm,
really dark times, and my job here in my house was to be the one who found those lights, you know, like the light in that situation, and to kind of like carry the load. And it doesn't like vanish with the problems. It doesn't like make it not exist, but just lightens the load a lot more. You know, it's like, okay, I can
yeah,
take that burden. It's similar to um Frodo carrying the ring, you know? Like Sam was with him, he could not carry the ring for him, but it was making that load a lot lighter. It was making it like smoother of a process because at the end of the day, like we cannot carry each other's crosses because those are not our own to carry. But if we help each other out at the moments where the crosses are way heavier than the like there have been, or those moments of challenge, it just makes everyone's life better. And that's when you create those like super deep bonds with people. You know, like
yeah,
that's where I think friendships they really form themselves. That's where your maybe your love partner or whatever like can, that's when you know that they're really with you like for the long run. That's when you know like your relationship, which ones were good and which ones are like just for show. Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that Lord of the Rings analogy. Yeah, going on the negative Nancy thing. Yeah, we have another expression also. It's Debbie Downer. That's the other one. Like is yeah.
Yeah, you guys are good with marketing, you know. That's
But yeah, I mean, I think like people also struggle with the whole art block thing. That's also like what I'm also gonna talk about in my course is like how to move past that. But I could just say here now for a little
okay. So
bonus. But
before you do that, like, why don't you give us a little insight on what the course will be about? Because I think is this the first time that you're mentioning it here? So
oh yeah, so yeah, if you guys are interested, I'm making a visual storytelling course, learning how to use mood and lighting to make your paintings, and it's for people of all different skill levels. If you're a beginner, hobbyist, professional, student. So yeah,
yeah, one thing that you told me right before we started recording is that you want this to be, which I particularly like. You don't want this to be just for industry people. So like that's
Yeah,
a
exactly.
really positive thing for me, because I feel like if we strive to be better artists, we consequently will be better in the industry. But the other way around is not necessarily true. So if you're making
Yeah.
content just for people to improve, I think that's a very like good approach to art education.
Yeah, because I don't know, I feel like with our content on Lightshare, we're not trying to sell anything to people of how to get into the industry and stuff. I mean, we've shared our own experiences, but there's no like, way to get into the industry.
This is the way.
Like, yeah, because everyone's path is pretty organic, I feel like. Um, my path to my old job wasn't like I did this, this, and this, and this to get there. It was a series of experiences you go through to maybe land an opportunity, right? And it might take a long time or a short amount of time, like depending on your art and your time frame, whatever. Like what you decide to make is like all dependent on you. Um, it's yeah, it can go anywhere, honestly. But yeah, I want to just make a class just for people to improve their art, because if they improve their art, it'll better their chance to land their job or their own opportunity that fits in their personality or their art or something. It's not me saying like you gotta do this, you gotta make your portfolio like this, you gotta make your art like this. It's, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the way to like give people insight on how we think, so that they can
Mm.
add that to their own like tool sets and like be critical about it and take what's useful and ignore what they don't feel like it's useful for them. And the thing about getting into the industry is that no one can give you any certainty that it will work. The industry changes constantly, and the art requirements change constantly. So how can you expect? Because whatever worked for me and you, like first of all, what worked for me is different than what worked for you, which is different than what worked for Adrian. So even
Yeah.
between us, like who kind of belong to the same generation, everything was already very different. And right now, like it's even like more different than what we had, like the scene when we were coming up. So we can really expect for things to just work and for us to give people a recipe around that. And I would be like
Yeah.
wary of people who advertise it that way, because it just sounds fake
Like
and
tone deaf.
yeah, because it's, how can you give guarantees to people in a like extra subjective area that
Yeah.
you don't even know what will come out tomorrow? Like the industry is funded around creativity, which by definition means like not what came before. So how can you pretend to understand what will come after if the idea of what will come next is to be original and new and fresh? Like that's yeah, I
Yeah.
understand that there are cycles and like there are industry movements and stuff, but we are not in the job of predicting the future. So
Yep.
and yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't think it's really a a useful way to approach art education. Like the more honest
Mhm.
approach feels a lot better. And for I mean, when I was doing my own course, I feel lighter, like telling people the truth, like, hey, this is what I'll do, like this is what you can expect from it. And the goal is like this and that, but I cannot give you assurances or anything. um I
Yeah.
can only assure you that I'll do my best as the teacher, as an instructor, and everything.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like we're artists because we want to make art. Like, yeah, because I don't know about you, but for me, um, I mean, getting into the industry was one of my goals, but as I grew over time, I was just like, I want to make cool stuff for people to get inspired and for me to also, improve in my art and just share the lessons that I've learned over the years. Like, yeah, it's nice working on interesting titles and stuff, but I don't think that should be the end goal if you're an artist, because like those things are fleeting all the time, and it's more about like who you are as an artist and what you become out of it. I think like um because yeah, I feel like a lot of people nowadays tend to make their job their identity and hold on to it so closely to those credentials, but it's like that Iron Man quote, like, who are you without that suit? Like we've talked about it so many
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
It's funny because
And
like in the very early days, of course that you want like the AAA title on your resume. Of course that you want the I want to work for this and that studio. And still like to this day it's cool if I get the X artist who
yeah.
worked on like Y project, he started following me, like that's pretty cool, and you feel validated by that. But it's just
Mhm.
that should be a kind of like a pinpoint on the route of your own map, like to your destination.
Mhm.
But that is not the destination itself, like that's part of the route. That's part of the, like one of those locations that you visit while you're traveling, like, yeah, I'm taking a
Yeah.
road trip to like a destination there, and this will be part of it. But that's not the end goal. That's not the end point, because life is so full of surprises. Like exactly what you said, like the projects, they are not constant, like they are not forever. I'll give an example, right? Like the games that you played as a child, they were that meaningful because you played them as a child, and they were being that thing at that period of time for you. They were meaningful because of the mix of your own age, what the game was doing, the story it was telling, and your whole experience there, and that will never replicate again. And we are like constantly chasing that feeling of feeling like a child again. And what ends up
Nostalgia.
happening is that like, yeah, the we as adults, like, we are not the same, and the games are not the same, and pursuing that will only lead to frustration. Like you will end up what ends up happening with a lot of IPs, I feel like it's the generation that used to like them, those IPs, when they were kids. Like we all grown up right now, and we want to work on those projects. So you see the iteration 5 of whatever game, people who are working on it are the fans of the initial one, but the people that worked on the initial one, they are not there anymore. So the other people are just trying to imitate whatever happened before and try to like
Yeah.
remake that magic, recreate that magic. And that will never happen because that moment in time passed, the people who were there passed, and even if you bring them back, like they're not the same people who they used to be. And you get that
Exactly.
mush of like, it feels like a washed out version of whatever it was, because it's building upon like what it was before instead of building upon the inspiration that brought that thing to life in the first place. And I feel like same thing happens with artwork. Like if you get stuck, that was happening even to me. That's why I started pursuing, like, challenging myself this year and pursuing different things. Is like I felt that I was basically being like creating bad copies of my own designs over and over again, like sketching the same way forever, doing like the same thing over and over, just because it was like that comfortable place, that nice little spot. Okay, I know how to do this thing really well, so I'll just keep doing it. And it was leading to a frustrating creative path that I had to stop and look at it and, okay, let me see what I can do to reignite the flame
Yeah.
and kind of like bring back the childhood feeling. And turns out the solution for that was doing something like way different than anything that I was doing before. And when I started doing that again, the fun started to be in the process again. I started to actually enjoy myself while doing artwork again. I started to enjoy the process and be creative again and be excited about it and not overthink stuff too much.
Yeah. That's the thing about like, yeah, going out of your comfort zone. you eventually find freedom in the fact that, you could have the confidence to create anything. And, you got to move past those barriers first of like, I know this is hard, but I know it's going to take me somewhere better. And it's kind of the thing I faced when I was like starting my art journey, like trying to just paint like bare bones stuff, like not avoiding 3D for a little bit, but just learning how to paint. And because like my lighting sucked back in the day. Like I was like doing tons of pieces that were just really terrible. And my lighting and my mood pieces weren't like hitting right. So I thought, okay, what if I take the time to step out of my comfort zone and like go outside, observe lighting, study lighting, try to just take it all in and then apply that to my pieces. Like try not to use 3D for helping with that. Just think from my head. And that's like the hardest part, like trying to like imagine a lighting scenario just through like references and like your intuitive feeling. And so once you repeat that process, like over years and years, and eventually like it starts to become a bit easier and you have that freedom to create and not be bound by too many rules. So yeah, it just, you gotta like step out and do what's uncomfortable. And for me, like I might maybe step out of my comfort zone again and learn 3D as well, like in the future. So it's just like pushing boundaries, like see what scares you the most and try to tackle it. And yeah.
Yeah, like
You
for me, it was there's two things. The first one is, part of me was like insecure about like people's reaction when I started doing different work. And I know like it sounds like weird, like, oh, like you kind of have that super strong part of your portfolio, and now you're like exposing the vulnerable side and doing different things. So like, I do like vehicles and props like decently well, and I started tackling environments and like the mood pieces, and I'm pretty much at that state that you just mentioned. Like my mood pieces kind of suck, but they are like the very beginning of that journey, and being okay with like having that slow start and like putting yourself in that beginner's position. And I thought that the public response would be to like not like it as much, or I don't know, we put a lot of our self-worth on like the public response online. And what ends up happening was actually like very surprising. People loved that I was doing a different thing. Like it felt fresh for the audience, because the way that you approach like the mood pieces and like your own vision for your artwork, even if we tackle like the same subject matter or the same kind of topics and everything, it will be different. So sharing your own vision on different topics is like can be exciting to your public as well, because maybe they like the way that you approach something and they want to see that same approach to everything else, or to like other things that they find exciting. And like as you mentioned, like you want to learn 3D and so on. To me, like I'm learning the painting stuff. I'm learning how to like not depend on like knowing the mechanisms, knowing the engineering behind stuff, like trusting a little bit more of my feelings, trusting a little bit more when you look at a piece and you kind of like understand that it's not right, but you can really put your finger onto why. Like learning how to understand that process, how to discover what is wrong about a piece, like how to find that for yourself. Like that has been my journey, and it's a very different approach, and it feels fresh, it feels exciting again, because you're really putting yourself in that situation that you had at the very early days of your career before you got stuck in your own way and like, oh yeah, I have this approach because this is the optimized approach to do whatever. Like who cares about optimized when you are beginning, like you care for the exciting thing, like what makes me want to put paint on the canvas, what makes me want to sit
Right.
at my desk and like do it like an overnight painting, you know? Because there are moments that you are so excited that you don't even want to go to bed anymore. You're just like, okay, like I'm feeling progress. I'm feeling like I'm on the edge of a breakthrough, and those kind of feelings, they're just priceless, and they are what I feel like will keep you going on the long term as an artist.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think so many people forget that like there's so much you can learn outside of what you normally do. And that's when the breakthroughs happen. I feel like people, I think, quit halfway because it just gets frustrating for them. But that's part of like the journey, you know? Like I spent most of my years being frustrated at my process, like why it couldn't work and stuff. And then you just go a little bit further and then boom, you make that breakthrough and it all clicks. It just, everything just comes together like a puzzle. And so it's kind of like that one comic where the guy's digging for diamonds and he's almost there. And he walks away at the very last moment when he could have dug a little bit further. It's the same thing, you know, just got to go through those roadblocks a bit, even if it's tough and frustrating. Like, yeah, one of my friends, Tim, he was on the podcast. I think he was, you know, struggling a bit with that. And I just, you know, reminded him, like, you know, just got to keep going. And even if you hit those roadblocks, like, eventually you'll grow and mature and see what's wrong throughout the years, like, as you become better in your art journey. And for some people, it takes longer. Other people can pick it up faster. It just all depends on your pacing. Like, uh, grasping the concepts and stuff. But eventually you will get there. You just have to like be persistent about it, you know? And yeah, I mean, that's when things get more fun, I feel. Because I'd always hear professionals say, like, yeah, it just takes time. And when you learn all these things, you'll have more fun at the end. And I used to not believe them because I'm always thinking about when am I going to get there, you know, instead of just like enjoying the process and just being like, okay, I know this will take time and I just have to just keep going. And then eventually, yeah, it all made sense. Like I knew what they were talking about now. Like, oh, came together. Not that bad. So,
Yeah, I guess it's just like reminding ourselves like it's all part of the process, because it
yeah,
is very easy to like only see our own faults, and like the progress is hard to see because we are so close to the like it's such a small progress every single day that you don't feel it in a daily basis. It's just that when you look back,
yeah.
that you know that you've like grown a lot and that things are actually progressing. So, um,
I mean, you probably faced it with bodybuilding, like
no,
when you
dude,
couldn't see
I was born
progress.
big. I was already huge. Sorry, I not normal like you guys. You know, those armies, they have to grow. No, dude, I actually had to get smaller. That's what happened.
You heard from him.
It's everywhere, man. I haven't found anything in life that it starts easy. So
Yeah. Well, I think this painting's almost done. I just put a few more things here, but uh yeah,
yeah, I'll add a high res version uh, after you're
it
done.
make
Uh,
stick man
yeah, dude, you're missing the pole, the stick.
stick
What?
just put just jutting out here, you know. I don't know. Yeah,
The
I'll just
return
make
of
the
the stick
rifle.
man. Like that's the good old days, you know, when concept art was actually good.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah, it was a good chat. I hope it helped people out there. If you guys have insights, like the public has insights on how you fight that creative block, the negative moments in your life, feel free to share it in the comments. If you have questions as well, just shoot it our way and we'll do our best to respond. We've been doing as many of these as we can. As you guys know, like, it takes a while, and like, it's not always that we are all available at the same time, but yeah, we are bringing an episode every time that we can. And let us know what you would like to see next. If you would like to see like more educational content, more episodes like these that are a little bit more chill, or yeah, whatever you want to see on the channel, let us know.
Cool. That being said, we'll see you guys in the next one.
See you.
Take care.